Hello, and welcome to today's presentation. Today's topic is going to be about requisitions. My name is Megan, tuning in from Tradogram. I've recently noticed that there has been a growing interest in using requisitions among organizations of all kinds. Whether they are private or public, small or big, managers obviously have started to realize the benefit of using purchase requisitions. So I've decided to prepare this presentation to share with you some information that I hope would help you in establishing a proven procedure for using this effective tool. First things first, we need to know the meaning of the term requisition in procurement. The term requisition, or purchase requisition as it's sometimes called, refers to a form used as an internal communication tool for placing orders within an organization. So in other words, it's an effective method that employees can use to inform those who are in charge of purchasing about their needs. It is also a way for employees to get their manager's approval on their orders before the purchase is processed. The next thing we need to know is the kind and amount of information that is supposed to be provided through a requisition. I wish there was an easy answer, because this can really vary from one organization to another, and is based on a number of factors relevant to the business structure. It could be as simple as just mentioning the items that are needed, and as complicated as providing details about the quality specs, the quantity, possible suppliers, the time and place of delivery, and even the payment terms and method. The most important factor that determines the need to use requisitions, and to what extent, is how management decides to structure their purchasing workflow. Let me explain briefly and in simple words what that really means. A fully centralized purchasing workflow means no one is allowed to procure the items needed, except the people in charge of purchasing or procurement. Only those assigned individuals are permitted to communicate with vendors, negotiate deals with them, and place orders. All other employees in this case can only communicate their needs to the appointed procurement staff, who can also be known as buyers or even the accounting team in smaller organizations that don't have a purchasing role. On the other hand, however, a fully decentralized purchasing workflow allows almost everyone in the organization to procure their needs. Employees would have permission to communicate with vendors, negotiate deals with them, and place orders directly. There is hardly any need for a procurement department in that case. A procurement officer might be appointed to just administer purchasing activities with very little direct involvement. The most common scenario, however, pertains neither to a fully centralized nor a fully decentralized workflow. It's called a hybrid purchasing workflow. In this case, the question would be, how centralized does your procurement process need to be? And when does it need to be decentralized? Management needs to make this decision, of course, based on a number of factors relevant to the nature of the business and their managerial style. Generally, the more centralized your workflow, the more there is a need to use requisitions, and also less information is required to be provided on requisition forms, and vice versa. In this instance, we should note that a hybrid option is used to allow for applying different purchasing workflows based on the nature of the item. But some might ask, what does the nature of the item really mean? Well, in a hybrid environment, the events that initiate the need to create a requisition and the sources of information that are used to complete this requisition are determined based on whether it's related to a direct or an indirect purchase. Direct purchases are what usually appear on financial statements as the net inventory value plus the cost of goods sold. It refers to the items that are being purchased to either be sold directly or be used in manufacturing the items that will be sold. Some managers decide not to use requisitions for direct purchases. Others decide to use requisitions, and in this case, they can be created based on projected sales, actual sales, or their bill of material. Indirect purchases, on the other hand, usually appear in financial statements under expenses. They are the items that are being purchased to enable management and their staff to perform duties and complete tasks. Usually, for consumables, requisitions are created according to the projected consumption over a period of time, while for other expenditures, the requisitions are created as the need occurs. For example, if an engineer needs to buy a new component to complete the design they're working on, it's best that they skip the requisition phase and go straight to communicating with vendors to issue a PO. Whereas if they need a new stapler, they might need to go through a requisition and get someone in purchasing to handle this purchase, to possibly save on a bulk order for other office supplies that other employees are requesting. So, why have organizations started to consider requisitions as an important form in almost every procurement process? Well, for a number of reasons. One, workers have been using a number of different methods to communicate their needs to their procurement department, such as internal memos through hand delivery, via email. Others use phone calls or even text messages. But these methods have proven to not be reliable and cause serious damage or disasters in the form of miscommunication, fraud, and loss of sensitive data. Companies have suffered because of this, from frequent variations in quality, delays in deliveries, and complicated legal disputes, costing them hundreds of thousands of dollars. Therefore, managers have started to realize the need for using requisitions. This has been a proven way to effectively streamline the flow of information between managers, their staff, and those who are in charge of procurement, while maintaining a record of all of this data. After explaining the risks that can be mitigated by using requisitions, it's time to address the huge savings. Adding requisitions to the procurement process contributes heavily in eliminating maverick spending through enforcing proper approval, routing, and control. It is also an excellent tool to achieve economies of scale by amalgamating multiple requisitions into one purchase order, only when applicable, of course. Most importantly, it leaves buying to procurement experts, which by itself should lead to greater results. Those are points not to be taken lightly if you're looking to gain more visibility and control in your purchasing process. Now let's see how we can get started with establishing a process. Every requisition procedure must contain a section to lay out an approved standard process of creating a requisition. This section consists of 4 main components. First, determine a numbering style or system that will be used to give each of the created requisitions a unique identity. Second, list all the mandatory and optional fields to be provided in the form by the person submitting a requisition. As I said before, the amounts of information that are required in this form vary from one organization to another, depending on how centralized the procurement system is. Third, define the steps of creating and issuing a requisition, and based on that, you can pick the naming convention used for every status option. These steps can be something like pending, approved, and fulfilled. The fourth component is to establish the approval routes a requisition must go through before it's issued. Those can be set up by using the amount threshold or monetary value of the order, the item category, the project or department, to determine who should approve a requisition before it's issued. The requisition life cycle is an important section of the requisitions procedure. It contains a rule regarding editing requisitions and a rule about the phases any requisition goes through from start to finish. In relation to editing requisitions, some managers decide to not allow a requisition to be edited. So if it doesn't get approved for any reason, it has to be canceled. Others, however, allow it, and in this case, they should explain what should be edited within the form and what would be the approval process in such a case. About the life cycle itself, all phases and steps should be well defined, and a status option must be linked to each phase. A requisition can be canceled or closed if not fulfilled. Make sure that everyone on your team is well aware of all the different stages and statuses a requisition can go through. Understanding the different stages will ensure smoother operations while minimizing the back and forth status update questions. Finally, let's briefly talk about e-requisitions. Technology today has allowed companies to implement a requisition procedure with minimal effort using simple cloud-based software. This is usually offered as a part of a complete procurement system. which includes a wide range of procurement-related features to help companies streamline their entire purchasing process. The main benefits such technologies offer include better mobility, higher efficiency, greater savings, and improved visibility and control over all of their procurement activities. Feel free to contact us if you would like to see how Tradogram can help you implement a highly effective purchase requisition procedure, or if you have any other procurement and spend management related questions. Thank you so much for watching. We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Click the button in the middle to speak to a Tradogram rep today.